This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is JT Starzecki, the non-executive chairman of Guardian Metal Resources. Thank you very much for joining us today, JT. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mark. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, well, it's really great to be meeting with you and talking with you today because, of course, Guardian Metals are on quite a bit on Stockbox and, of course, Oliver Friesen, the main man we talk to for the most part there. So to meet more of the team, and, of course, you were recently appointed there as a chairman. Just perhaps give us a bit of an introduction, if you can, in a few minutes to yourself, a bit of your history in the mining sector.
Sure, I'd love to. So for those that have never watched any of the stuff that I've done, JT Starzecki, non-executive chairman for Guardian Metals Resources. I've been in the junior mining and mineral space since 2009. So, coming up on sort of completing a 2-decade stint in the junior mining and metal space. And I've worked in a variety of different commodities and products, if you will. So for anybody listening in the UK, I spent about a dozen years at Sirius Minerals, from the early days and inception of the concept and the project all the way through and past when the company was acquired by Anglo American. We were obviously working on a large scale sustainable fertilizer initiative and product there. I've also spent some time doing various consulting opportunities for Australian-based projects. I've worked on a magnesite project, worked on a kaolin and gold project. I've then sort of kind of evolved into the critical minerals space. So I spent some time in the previous few years working on a boron and lithium project. And then, I joined the board in 2023 of Guardian Metals when we were known as Gold Metals back then. And, have recently taken over as non-exec chairman, and really love sort of the space that we're sitting in right now. And so obviously, our focus is Pilot Mountain with Tungsten, but we also have some interesting plays in the antimony space. We have a recent sort of announcement around garnet. And so, I've kind of sort of done the breadth, from an experience and sort of what I bring to the table. Spent a lot of times on commercial based agreements, a lot of time in capital markets. I've run drilling programs, oversaw, one of the largest agronomic programs around the globe, been involved in pilot construction, facility construction, operation. So, I do believe that I bring a very well-rounded and heavy set of skills in this space to Guardian Metal, and excited about what the next few years are going to bring for us.
Okay. Well, that brings us on nicely to sort of the rationale. Why did you join GMET here? I noticed your comments in the RNS about your appointment. You did say that the time is now for the US to have a domestically mined supply of tungsten. And at Guardian Metal, we're looking forward to playing an important role in this important onshoring effort. So, what was it that really attracted it to you? It can't just be the tungsten, can it?
That is correct. It wasn't just the tungsten. When I had to think back and sort of when I was evaluating the opportunity and talking to Oliver and talking to some of my fellow board members, or what became some of my fellow board members, I really kind of looked at it from 3 different areas. So one, the strength of the asset portfolio. So not just tungsten, although that is really our primary focus as we've kind of evolved our value proposition. But, what do some of the assets look like, and how do you take that portfolio and you start to have the gravity of the stronger assets gravitate towards the top. Now, timing does play into that a little bit, but we have some other assets outside of Pilot Mountain that were kind of intriguing, but that just having that strength of asset portfolio here in the United States, knowing and understanding through all of my government experience how absolutely vital those types of projects are going to be for our mineral independence moving forward. So really, the strength of the portfolio. I would say the second piece of that is the team, generally speaking. So the pedigree of the board, having a right mix of skills of, exploration experience, junior mining experience, capital markets and government experience. But more importantly, understanding the junior mining space and how do you prioritize what is most important year in and year out as those projects evolve. I've seen over the course of my career in this space, junior mining companies very quickly try, once they get a little bit of a foothold in their market, they try and fill their boards with big name, big pedigree, type board members. And a lot of times what you end up losing there is the ability to move very nimbly, right? To prioritize things like capital structure and reporting out to the market on progress. And, you tend to get bogged down in sort of that process. So you process yourself out of productivity. And we have a really good mix on our board. So that was one of the attractiveness to, sort of coming in and taking a larger role within the organization. I think we have an absolutely talented CEO at the helm. Oliver does a really good job in communicating and articulating to the shareholder community and the various stakeholders. He understands the narrative. He understands how to move that out, into the market. And I think the third piece of that is really sort of the macro trends that we're seeing. And if my almost last 20 years tells me anything in the junior mining and metal space, is that you have to get the timing right. And the macro trends for defense related materials and minerals in the United States very much has a runway that has started to begin and has a bit of a path forward. And so, being able to get that timing right, if you were a lithium company 7 years ago, you were getting that timing right. Rare earths 4 years ago. And now sort of we started to see antimony come into play. We do believe that tungsten is kind of the next thing that'll be up, just given all of the conversations we've had from a media, government, and shareholder perspective. And so, looking at the portfolio, looking at the quality of people, and then the macro trends, it sort of became a no-brainer to want to get more heavily involved in what we're doing at Guardian Metal.
Okay, good. And I mean, and you're based on the ground, not in Nevada, but you are in the United States. So you're closer than perhaps Oliver, for example.
Correct. Yep. So I right now am the lone U.S.-based board member. It gives me the ability to sort of help out and leverage some relationships, make some referrals in around government, around capital markets, and then sort of also be a liaison if Oliver needs anything on the site. So yes, I am based in the United States.
Okay, and just finally then, what would be your main role? What will you really sort of give and bring to GMET? You listed a lot of really important sort of skills and experiences there. You said commercial-based agreements, drilling, pilot operations, experience with government, prioritizing different activities, etc. And again, from a quote from the RNS, you talked about, as of course the project goes into that pre-feasibility study. It's a process that you've been involved in, as you've said, multiple times in your career. So will you have a specific focus, or you'd be a bit of a, I don't say jack of all trades, but someone on the ground who can lend his hand to a lot of really important things for Pilot Mountain and of course Guardian Metals generally?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. So, first and foremost, governance and sort of the leading of the board process. We are making the next evolution of Guardian Metals in 2025, and we started to see some of that stuff come into play at the end of 2024. And so, bringing a level of governance and a level of leadership to the board, and being able to sort of help the board and the board helping senior management evolve into, sometimes we use the term, into sort of a big boy company, right? So coming into play. So certainly will play a critical role, and that'll be one of my primary duties within the organization. As you rightfully mentioned, I have a lot of experience and relationships in the U.S. markets, right, from a capital markets and banking perspective. I also have spent the previous few years working on government relations, expanding relationships, not only on Capitol Hill, but also, within the defense industrial sector, not so much the Department of Energy, that's not really a focus for us, but within the Department of Defense and Department of Interior, there's a lot of different things that I'll be able to help, Oliver and the senior executive team. I'm also playing a role to support Oliver in developing and rolling out the business strategy, right? So kind of now that we're finalizing some of the exploration programs, we started to look at what are some of the acquisitions. As anybody that follows the company knows that we've got a binding letter of intent to pick up another tungsten asset in Nevada that has some infrastructure. So what is the strategy and how we vend that in? How do we prioritize, right? Then you take the commercial aspects, government funding, and meld that all together. We spent a lot of time in December as a board hashing out that strategy and what we want to focus on in 2025. And we will continue to roll those catalysts out to the market. We will continue to deliver on things like the PFS and, additional government funding and items like that. So, board governance and leadership, strategy, execution, and then, sort of filling in anything that the rest of the senior executive team needs. As you rightfully point out, I've been through the PFS, the BFS, the DFS stages quite extensively in my career. And so, looking forward to helping out whatever is needed for Oliver and for us to really support and build this organization.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time and sort of introducing yourself to us and, of course, the Guardian Metals shareholders. Hopefully we can talk a bit more in the future as developments happen with the company. And, of course, maybe get to know you a little bit more on perhaps a longer form podcast. But for now, thank you very much for your time, JT Starzecki, the non-executive chairman at Guardian Metal Resources.
Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate your time.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.